Welcome to the show. Here, I speak with experts and experts at life in heartfelt conversations designed to help us pause, choose intentionality over hustle, and discover joy, meaning, and connection in our everyday lives.
I'm willing to call myself an idiot. If I call myself an idiot, you're calling me an idiot doesn't really make a difference. One of my learnings is that you're a permanent student and you embrace the fact that you're a permanent student. The more you embrace it, the more observant you become, the more you learn from the world around you. Advertising, theatre, art, culture, stage, you name it, Alyque had a finger in it. Ram Benegal or Kiran Bedi, these were all people one came across virtually every day. Arun Kolhatkar, there were writers, theatres, M.F. Hussain, right? So these were all, that was an incredible time. And so like a sponge, you just absorbed and absorbed and absorbed. You don't have friends, you got a problem. Invest your time and energy in building some relationships. The only thing you're sure of when you're born, right?
Yeah.
That a day will come and you'll die. Yeah. But why would you invite it?
We'll probably do a wide range of topics. I've done a little bit of research about you before coming to speak to you, and I did see that you worked with a lot of luminaries in the media industries, whether it be Mr. Subhash Chandra or Mr. Padamsee. Does any incident stand out to you that potentially shaped the way you think about work?
All of us are students, okay? One of my learnings is that you're a permanent student. And you embrace the fact that you're a permanent student. The more you embrace it, the more observant you become, the more you learn from the world around you. And as somebody who, when I was young in my formative years, I was lucky enough to work with Alyque. And I consider Alyque one of my three gurus. There was another gentleman who, again, brilliant gentleman, Shunu Sen, who used to be the head of marketing of Unilever. I worked closely with Shunu Sen for about 10 years, I think, and again, I was very impressionable at that point of time. I was in my 20s. Then in my 30s, I worked with Subhash. And again, what I learned from Shunu, what I learned from Alyque, what I learned from Subhash, okay, were key components that went into making me who I am today. So I always used to say to them that they are my three gurus. Of course, Shunu died very early. Alyque passed away, I think, about 7-8 years ago. And Subhash is still alive, so I do pay my respects to him, every Guru Purnima, because I think for all of us, we need to have people that we can learn from. And each of these teachers teaches you something else. But what that does is, it opens your mind to the possibilities of learning from everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So the entire universe then becomes a teacher. Everybody becomes a teacher. It's not whether they are older than you or younger than you or, better off or lesser well off or whatever. Then you start seeing a human being in their purest form of being energy.
Yeah.
And that energy feeds you.
Yeah.
And you need to learn how to absorb that energy. And of course, all of us have our kinks. I don't think there's a single person on the planet who can say, I'm completely blameless, right?
Yeah.
But you have to then have the wisdom to learn what to take and what to reject. You can't take everything from anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these three people have played a very important role in making me who I am.
Anything that sort of, it might be very difficult, like you're saying, it literally shaped your life, but maybe top 2-3 things from these people that really had an impact on you and which sort of continues to guide you even now.
So one of the key lessons I learned with Shunu, I first met Shunu Sen in 1980 when I joined Lintas, right? I was incredibly young and cutting my teeth in advertising, getting to know the business, and Shunu Sen was the person who told me, look, whatever you do, keep the consumer at the forefront, right? So it's what you're doing for the consumer. You're building a brand, you're doing advertising, whatever you're doing it for the consumer. if the consumer is excited about what you're doing, if the consumer is involved in what you're doing, then you know what your product is or your advertising is going to work. So the whole concept of keeping somebody else at the center of everything was the greatest learning that I got from Shunu. Okay, even today when I'm building the Genes Life platform,
Right.
I'm not building the platform for me, because if I build it for me, I'm building it for one consumer.
Right.
I'm building it for the consumer. What are other 60 plus people doing? What are their compulsions? What drives their life?
Right.
And so it was important to do research to understand what is it that people want? What are their fears? What are their concerns? Can we address those fears and concerns? Can we create a natural space in their lives for us? It's not like walking in with a sledgehammer and saying, I'm going to break the walls.
Yeah.
It's creeping into their life the way it is and saying, okay, do I have a role to play?
Right.
What role can I play?
Right.
So that was the most critical thing I learned from Shunu Sen when it came to business. And that simple lesson has stood me in great stead. Okay, over the decades. I mean, I started working with Shunu in 1980. Today we are in 2025, right?
Yeah.
That's 45 years later.
Yeah.
I'm still using that.
Yeah.
So, thank you. The second thing I learned from Alyque, okay? Alyque was again an incredible man. He was like so into so many different things. Advertising, theater, art, culture, stage, you name it, Alyque had a finger in it, right? So with Alyque, it was always this whole thing of how does this one man manage to do so much?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, my biggest lesson from him that you need to look at the details. Okay. He used to always say God is in the details, and we used to call him God. You know, I mean, he was God. So God is in the details, and truly, there are so many little things that actually may seem very small, but they contribute significantly, and it's like the cascading effect, right? Domino effect. One thing tips over, and before you know it, the entire line of dominoes is gone.
Yeah.
And so that was the whole idea of saying no detail is too small for you to worry about. And it used to be amazing, even in his theatre. So, for instance, when Alyque was doing a play, he would always have a certain number of people put across the audience to applaud at the right point of time. Okay, because, and his reasoning was very clear. He said, look, I'm not talking to a sophisticated audience who knows when to applaud, right? I'm talking to an audience who may be hesitant to applaud or may applaud at the wrong time. And you see a lot of this with Western classical music. Like people go to a Western classical music, and just as the music starts fading out, they start applauding without realizing that that fade actually is going to end in a crescendo.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't applaud at the fade.
Yeah.
You wait for the fade to translate into transform into a crescendo, and that's when you applaud.
Yeah.
But why do people do it? They do it because of ignorance, right? They do it because of enthusiasm. So Alyque used to say, let's channelize that enthusiasm. Let's convert that ignorance into understanding. And so invariably on his plays, there would be his team separated out. Now that was in theatre, and Alyque sort of made everything theatre, drama, right? So it was a question of, gosh, I'm making a presentation to a client. What am I saying to this client? How do I make sure that the client actually buys into what I'm talking about? And Alyque, observing him, you were observing one of the best actors in the world, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you learned how to pitch your voice, how to use your face, how to use your body, how to use your stance. So the whole thing about what actors do on stage, okay, bunch of us who were like acolytes to Alyque. And we would like literally, you know, it was Alyque, AP. We never called him Alyque, AP. We were acolytes and we learned from him. And the dramatization of anything, even in work, in business, right? What are you doing? You're telling stories.
Absolutely.
You're trying to convince somebody about something, you're sharing a little bit of yourself with them, like I'm sharing with you,
Yeah.
right? So you're telling stories, and those stories are effective if they are told well.
Yeah.
The best story told badly is a flop,
Yeah.
but the mundane story told really well can
Yeah.
be a hit. We see that again and again in
absolutely.
movies across the world, right?
Yeah.
So, for instance, Alyque would always say, accept the fact that people are shy. There are very few people who are naturally performers. They're shy. You know,
Yeah.
you need to get them to come out of their shells.
Yeah.
So, when we had meetings, there would always be somebody who was prompted to ask a question.
So that it would open up others.
Correct.
Yeah.
The first question is always difficult.
Yeah, I've
but
noticed that
once
too.
that first question is asked, then everybody, you know, puts their hands up
Yeah.
and has a comment to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then that sense of participation becomes stronger. So it was one of those incredible things. I mean, imagine you're, you know, in your 20s and you're seeing all of this drama around you and you're surrounded by incredibly talented people, whether it was, you know, Alyque or Jerson or Sham Benegal or Kiran Bedi. I mean, these were all people one came across virtually every day. Arun Kolhatkar, there were writers, theatres, MF Hussain.
Wow.
Right?
That must
So
have been
these
an
were all,
incredible time.
that was an incredible time. And so, like a sponge, you just absorbed and absorbed and absorbed.
Yeah.
So it was fabulous. Then the third guru that I have, who thankfully is alive today, is Subhash Chandra. Okay, when I joined Z, I had spent 13 years in Lintas. I had, you know, seen an organization where it was an old organization. It was a well-rooted, well-structured organization. And from there I moved into Z in 1994, the early years of television. Nobody knew what they were doing. We were all flying by the seat of our pants. We were literally building the plane while in the air.
Right.
That's what we were doing. And through all of this, Subhashji was just incredible. Okay, he had so much faith in me. He gave me a free hand, and his thing to me was, look, you need to learn business, okay, because you don't understand the business. And I said, yeah, I don't understand business, but I think I know quite a bit. You know, how you spent 13 years working in Lintas.
Yeah.
You know, you're a senior executive, you've got promotions every year, blah, blah, blah. So you go into this kind of space and you say, I think I know what I'm about. And then you realize reality hits you like a icy jug of water in the midnight while you're in your bed. Okay, it's not what you thought it was. And suddenly you're dealing with a completely different animal. On the one hand, you had a very organized environment where the accounts people did their job, the admin did their job, the secretaries did their job,
Yeah.
and you were asked to do your job,
Yeah.
right? Now you come into a completely new space, which is highly disorganized because it's a new company, it's like a startup. And you're supposed to know what you need to do. Okay, there's no guidance, there's no this thing, because everybody is literally just running at 100 miles an hour to stay in place. Okay, and you plonked into that, and I joined there as head of sales and marketing, responsible for revenue. I joined Z. Z had a revenue of 50 lakhs a year, and Subhashi and me sat down and discussed it, and I said, look, we're underpricing. And he said, take up the cost. Do what you think is appropriate. So I'm literally 1 month in the organization. I joined in September, and in October I issued a rate card, and in that October rate card I categorized programs, and I said, this is silver, gold and platinum. I made 3 categories, and my idea was very simple. I said normally people take a rate hike at one point in the year, right? You have like mastermind and all the Times of India's, and everybody would do a rate hike once in a year. I said the problem with that approach is it's too static. It doesn't work for a dynamic medium like television. Why is television dynamic? Because the inventory once lost is gone. That 30 seconds is not going to come back ever again, right? Because you can't claw back time. I can have 10 pages in a newspaper tomorrow, it doesn't matter if I had 2 pages yesterday. But in television, you can't claw back time. It's a perishable commodity. So the idea was these 3 layers, and I would migrate programs on these layers. So essentially, if a program was at silver and it was doing a certain amount of ratings, okay, and the ratings increased, I could migrate that program into gold and charge a premium. So essentially what happened is, I had built a structure that allowed me to look at a rate hike at any point of time. And I was not stuck with a rate hike at a once a year kind of thing. So I could slide programs up, and if they were not performing, I could slide programs down. Because otherwise what would happen, people would say, no, I want only on, Colgate Top 10, right? Or Close Up Antakshari, because those were very popular programs, and they didn't want the lesser popular programs. But now they could get the lower programs at a discount. So this was a full structural change that I made. And I told Subhash, I want to walk you through this. So he said, हाँ नहीं किया होगा आपने, एनालिसिस तो तुम करती हो, किया होगा. I said, पर आप देखिए, नहीं दिखाने की क्या ज़रूरत है, रिलीज कर दो. This is literally 1 month after I joined the organization. And 1 month after I joined the organization, I sent a mail out to every agency in the country saying, Happy Diwali, we've got a new rate card, and releasing the rate card. Okay, obviously I'd taken a hike from the base rate, so everybody was very upset. But when they set their being upset aside, they found the value of what I'd done, because now it was fair. Look, in life, it has to be a win-win. It can't be a one-sided thing. And if anybody tells you this is, only you are going to win, they are bullshitting you, right? And that was the start of what for me was an amazing relationship with Subhash, because he gave me the freedom. Okay? Yes, there were times when he'll haul me up, but only when I deserved it. But there was so much professional respect that I got from him. Because with Alyque, I think, with both Shunu and Alyque, I think they treated me like a, young child, because I was a young child. But I think with Subhash, he treated me with professional respect. So that was also personally, I made that transition from, being a snotty-nosed young executive into a person of substance. I mean, these are like 3 stories. I can tell you 100 more stories, but honestly, I owe a big debt of gratitude to these 3 people.
I mean, you're also saying freedom, but I'm guessing it also helps you build self-confidence, right? Because somebody like this is really placing their faith in you and letting you do things without micromanaging. I don't think that happens way too often, and that potentially gives you the faith in yourself to sort of move on and do great things in life. So
it's a double-edged sword, okay? Because at the same time, you're carrying the onus of failure. You're scared. Because, I've got this freedom, but what happens if I don't succeed? What happens if I fall short of the expectations, right? And so that really turns the screws on you. It works sometimes, but it won't always work. It is like the brutal way of nurturing somebody. Like I said, everything has 2 sides to it.
These stories that you told me are already sort of a good indicator of what makes a good workplace. But if you were to give advice to younger folks who are looking for places to work at, what should they be looking out for?
So I think you make a good workplace. Okay, I think what's happening today is a lot of us are abdicating our responsibility and blaming it on everybody else. You blame it on the environment, you blame it on your parents, you blame it on the corporation. I mean, start looking at what is the role you are playing in it. And for me, honestly, as a grandmother, I'm a grandmother today, the first thing I say to my grandkids is, how are you responsible for this? Okay, and when they start looking at, yeah, maybe I had a role to play in this, you know, something broke, something happened, what did you do to make this happen?
Yeah.
We cannot abdicate responsibility. As human beings, we have to take responsibility for our actions. Today in the workplace, people talk about toxic work culture, right? Voice your opinion. But everybody will talk behind the back of the boss. But nobody will have the courage to write to the managing director and say, this person is toxic.
Right.
Because they themselves are not blameless. Right? And you pander.
Yeah.
So you may have a toxic boss, but then there are always 10 people in that group, in that company or that team who are pandering to the toxic boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the 10 people who are not are saying, you know, look at this. But they are not willing to do anything about it.
Yeah.
What happens today is we've become morally corrupt as a society.
Yeah.
We want without working for stuff, right? There is a sense of entitlement. Oh, I have done this course in this program, now I should get this kind of job. I had a person who came on board, joined me, who's getting 3.6 lakhs a year, right, at a job. And I offered that person, because I thought they were, I would want to have them on in my company, I offered them 4.2 lakhs. Okay, a person comes back and says, no, I'm sorry, 4.2 is too little, I'm getting 3.6, I want 5.2. I said, I'm sorry, I can't give you 5.2. No, you see this, that, my expenses, I'm living in a house. I didn't ask you to live in a house.
Yeah.
If you don't want to live with your parents, this is what I can afford. I can't afford more. 3 months later, we got a call saying, I'm willing to come for 4.2. Now, you tell me, would you hire this person?
Not really.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know I'll get the person at 4.2. Within 6 months, this person is going to want to go up. The whole sense of, no, I'm entitled. The world does not owe anybody anything. Let's get that right. Nobody's owed anything. Okay? Parents do their children the biggest disservice in the world when they keep saying to their kids, oh, you're so smart, oh, you're so brilliant, oh, you're this, oh, you're that. Not everybody can be a Nobel Prize winner, but that doesn't make them bad human beings. So a lot of the problems are also with parenting and the way we bring up our children. We don't give them values. I'm working in this senior space now, right?
Yeah.
The number of people I find who ill-treat their parents. Where's the value system? But the fact of the matter is those same parents have probably ill-treated their parents. So you see and you observe and you learn by observing the way your parents behave.
You're talking about parenting. I think that's a big space for people in our generation, right? Because there's so much confusion around what the right thing to do. Then you spoke about entitlement. And everybody, I think parenting has changed quite a bit from previous generations. Now parents are a little more woke, I would say, in terms of being nicer to their kids. But like you're saying, it's potentially too much entitlement. So if you were to give people advice on what's the right way, maybe top 1 or 2 things about how to get your kids to face the world, teach them how to face the world, what would that be?
Boundaries and responsibilities. It's very important for kids to understand that there are boundaries. Not everybody can have a Lamborghini, and it's perfectly okay, right? So you need to understand your boundaries, your economic boundaries, your intellectual boundaries.
Yeah.
I've had people spending lakhs of rupees for putting their child in a so-called modern school, which honestly is such a waste of money. At that stage of education, you need a decent education, but you don't need to go to one of these, expensive schools when you can't afford it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And a lot of businesses have actually been very, very fundamental in destroying the fabric of our country. I mean, something like Byju's, right? By creating this whole thing of, if your kids are not part of this plan, you're a loser as a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, give me a break.
Yeah.
You're trying to sell your product.
Yeah.
You don't need to make 50% of the population losers
Yeah.
just to sell your product.
Yeah.
How morally corrupt is that? So the first thing is boundaries. The second thing is responsibilities. Today, parents don't instill the sense of responsibility in their kids. You're responsible for your home. You're responsible for your studies. You're responsible for looking after your grandparents. You're responsible for making sure you don't throw dirt on the thing. You're responsible to make sure you don't drink and drive. I mean, the parents end up doing anything in their ability to save their kid. I would say rot in jail.
Yeah, because you're setting them up potentially for not facing life, because life's not going to be like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actions have consequences, and if you don't accept those consequences, and the problem is, we were discussing this just yesterday, we look at the attitude towards women in India, right? Both of us, as women of different ages, are exposed to the male gaze every single day.
Yeah.
Right? Why is that male gaze as bad as it is? Because mothers have abdicated their responsibility. And every rapist's mother says, no, he should be forgiven. When you don't instill those values in your child, you are equally responsible for that rape. You as a woman have fueled the misogyny that that young man is experiencing.
Yeah.
By allowing him to get away with unacceptable behavior.
It comes back to values. Like, what conversations are you having at home?
I'm sorry, but I honestly think that we are the root cause of everything. If the world is in such a space today, it's because we have not stood for what is right in every aspect of our life. So as parents, you need to understand the boundaries, the responsibilities, and the need to let children make their own mistakes. You can't insulate your kids from the world. They have to learn to fall and pick themselves up, because they will fall once, twice, and the third time they'll be careful. But if you're constantly, "Nee beta, hey, ye mat karo, wo mat karo, aise mat karo, waise mat karo," nahi, hum hai na.
Yeah.
We are bringing up a generation of emotional cripples because they've lost the ability to be resilient. And that is one thing I feel it's a generational problem. My generation is far more resilient. We didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We were born into this country in the 50s and the 60s when India was going through a transition. We went to the local school. We studied whatever we did. Few of us went abroad. Most of us stayed in India. We knew we had to fight and work hard to make something of our life.
Yeah.
We weren't sitting back saying, I want my father's flat, I want my mother's business, I want this, I want that. It was not there. If at all your father had maybe 2 cents of land in Kerala, or your mother's family would have had some ancestral home somewhere, and that was it.
Yeah, nobody was gifting you iPads and birthday parties. Yeah.
It's an amazing thing, and from being one of the richest nations in terms of values, we've become among the most poverty-stricken countries in the world when it comes to values. Because what did we do? We took the worst from the West and we dumped the best of our culture, the syncreticity of our culture, the ability to help each other. I mean, as children growing up, our parents never thought 10 times about leaving us alone in the house.
Yeah. That's
Because
impossible to think of now.
it's impossible today.
Taking a slight bit of a left turn and going back to work potentially, Meenakshi, we've spoken about how the workplace has probably evolved from what it was during your time. A couple of things here. How important do you think it's to have friends at work?
Okay, how important to have friends? Let me break that question
Yeah.
into two separate
Yeah.
things. I think friends are fundamental to leading a fulfilled, happy life. Okay? You don't have friends, you got a problem. Invest your time and energy in building some relationships. Friends in the workplace, again, what is a friend? Right? I think it's important for us to define what is the true meaning of a friend. A friend is somebody with whom you don't need to put up pretenses. A friend is somebody who you can call up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, I'm in a jam, I need you.
Yeah.
A friend is somebody who will tell you what you need to hear.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
That's the fundamental difference.
Yeah.
If somebody tells you what you need to hear, you may not want it at that point of time. But if they are courageous enough to say to you that, look, this is what I think, hold on to them because they're a true friend. What happens in the workplace is there are some of us who are fortunate enough to find these relationships in the workplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
But typically what happens is in the workplace, it's each one for themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So if there's one promotion available, then you and your friend are going to be at loggerheads.
Yeah.
Right? We make this mistake constantly. We use the term friends very loosely. Right? So like I'm friends with the Uber driver, the guy who drops me, regularly. I'm friends with him. We chat about stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But am I friends with him? No. He's an acquaintance. And there are a lot of acquaintances that you may really feel fond of. Like I have people in my office who I'm very fond of. But I won't call them friends.
Right.
If I'm introducing them to somebody, I'll say, yeah, meet my friend.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for each of us to make that distinction. And my father had this amazing story that he used to always tell us. He would say, you have in life 5 friends. Truly strong relationships, you can't have more than 5. And Dad would always say, it's like nature, the palm of your hand, each of these fingers is different. But the hand needs to have these 5 fingers and each one of them have a function and a role to play. And that's what Father used to say. And the funny thing is, I think last year I read a piece of research that was done on human relationships. And again, the magic number was 5. If you are very lucky, you have these 5 friends. If you don't have 5 friends, then start working towards it. Because friendship does not happen.
Right. Right.
Friendship needs investment.
Yeah.
Friendship needs you to give of yourself. And you don't have to say, oh, now I invited her out, so now why isn't she inviting me out, right? That's not friendship.
Yeah.
That's transaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So friendship is when you give without any expectations.
Also, mentors. You spoke of the 3 mentors and potentially there were more. What would your guide be to recruit a mentor for yourself? Because like you said, people are shy and maybe someone looks up to someone at work or wherever in life, but they might feel sort of limited to go and reach out to that person and have a conversation. What would your advice be to such a person?
I think what's happening is the whole concept of mentoring is getting quite distorted. Okay, like people think if somebody is famous, they are a mentor. So you will have well-known people getting a lot of people saying, mentor me, mentor me, mentor me. That is not mentoring. Mentoring is a process, okay, of having somebody with whom you can bounce ideas, of having somebody who gives you perspective that is different from yours, of having somebody who guides you, because of their experience and who helps you not repeat mistakes, right? So if you look at mentoring in its purest sense, It could be anybody that you look up to. It doesn't need to be somebody famous.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
It could be the neighborhood uncle who you think is, somebody that you look up to. So I think mentoring becomes critical at every stage in your life. And it's like even today, I'm 66, this is my 5th startup, but I still feel I need mentors. Okay, except now my mentors are dying out because they're like really old. But every stage in your life you need mentors. But what those mentors do for you becomes different. And again, I mean, the best way of explaining this is nature. Look at nature. It's constantly changing. Whether it's a tree, whether it's a bird, whether it's a forest, whether it's the ocean, there's constant change.
Yeah.
Nothing stays frozen. So human beings are part of that nature. How can we expect to be frozen? We have to evolve. And literally every day you have to shed your skin and get new skin and dump your cells and get new cells, and constantly, this is a constant process. It's magical. And if you see it as a magical journey, then mentoring also becomes part of this process. You get mentored, you're mentoring somebody else. And so it becomes like a virtuous cycle. I'm helping you, you're helping someone else.
This angle of shedding your skin, you were also talking about learning every day. This concept of growth mindset has become, thankfully, now there's vocabulary around it. But personally as well, I find it quite difficult to get uncomfortable. You end up staying in your comfort zone. So what would be practical advice to people to say, how do you develop a growth mindset?
So a couple of things you can do, and I think it's very important. I like the fact that you said, how can we move it from theory into practice, right? Now, the growth mindset is not something you're born with. You cultivate it, okay? How do you cultivate it? You cultivate it by putting yourself intentionally into a position of discomfort. Human nature is such that we want to avoid discomfort. Right? So you find ways and means of being able to grapple with this. It could be a hobby. It could be running. Start running, okay? And if you're not a runner and then you start running, you actually are going through that discomfort. You're cultivating an environment where you need to push yourself. It could be running, it could be gymming. I mean, today more and more people feel conscious about how they look, and they want to look good, they want to do this, they want to do that. People are looking at their health, are saying, what can I do to be healthier? There are 30-year-olds who are getting strokes and paralyzed, and 40-year-olds are dying of heart attacks. So you start intentionally putting yourself into a situation where you're out of your depth. It could be a sport, it could be a passion, like diving. I mean, I started scuba diving, I trained when I was 50. And that 50 to 66 now, diving has been an integral part of my life. And it's still that first dive, after a gap, when I get into the water, there's that sense of nervous energy, It never goes away. But that is so important. Because it creates that environment of saying, I'm challenging myself. I'm doing this for myself. I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it for myself. When I'm working out, I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for anyone else. So something as simple as that. Developing a new skill. Okay, maybe you can't cook to save your life. Maybe you can only boil an egg. Right? Start learning cooking. Start doing things that seem very small, but the impact of those actions would be huge. And that's how you get into a growth mindset. Because the first time you make a biryani and people say, wow, this is amazing, right? That's motivation to then say, hey, I can do biryani. Now let me see if I can make lasagna or a pizza or whatever. So you start scaling up. In everything you do in life, the minute you sort of got a certain level, human tendency wants to get you to scale and move to the next height and the next height. The problem is a lot of people are looking at that height and saying, Arey Baba, I can't do that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you take that first step. Let it be small,
Yeah.
but take it.
Yeah. So many thoughts that are coming out from what you just said. One thing I really want to focus on is health. I'm seeing you being full of energy and doing a startup for seniors. How important is health? And I mean, when I was reading about your work life, it seemed like it was crazy. Like you were pulled back to work, I think, right after maternity. How did you maintain your health through that kind of, I guess, busy work life and everything else that you were doing? How are you doing it now? Because a lot of our folks, tend to say, oh, I don't have time, there's so much work, there's so much stuff going on, that health gets severely deprioritized.
Correct, absolutely. You should be putting yourself, okay, at the center of your world,
Yeah.
right? You as an individual. Of course, there are relationships. You could be a mother or a daughter or a grandmother or a boss or whatever, but you should be able to put yourself at the center. And the minute you do that, you make the time for you. Actually, the whole concept of time, it's quite strange, and I spend a lot of time thinking about the concept of time, right? Mm-hmm. Time is elastic. You can stretch it as much as you want to, depending on what you want to do with it. So if you start off saying time is elastic, like I'll give you an example of my average day, right? I wake up at 5:45. 6:30, I hit the gym. Either I'm working out on my own or, I have a trainer, I go and do Pilates 6 to 7 days a week. And that's 1 hour. And it's me time. So while I'm working out, I'm listening to podcasts, right? I'm maybe watching content. I'm sort of educating myself. I'm training my body and educating my mind. Then I have breakfast. Then I come to work. Normally I'm at work at 9. Then 9 to 5:30, I'm at work. Then I head back home and maybe speak to a couple of friends. Okay, again, if I have not done enough exercise in the morning, spend half an hour on the treadmill, right? Then come back, have dinner, and if I need to work, I'll work for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Like sometimes my brain is buzzing, I can't get to sleep.
Yeah.
So I've stopped worrying about it. Brain is buzzing, can't go to sleep, get up, sit down with your computer, work for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
You flow
Yeah.
with your life. And you feel good because you eat right, you feel right, you feel the energy. It's not that I don't indulge. I love my red wines. So I will have a glass of wine. I love coffee. I can drink a coffee at 9 o'clock and still go to sleep, because again, it's training your body to take whatever you give at it. But you treat it with respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the beauty of doing this and living a balanced life, having excesses, but not every day. Doing the things you feel like doing, indulging, but not every day.
Yeah.
It's important for us to have discipline in our lives.
Yeah.
And then with that disciplined foundation, then you can do whatever you want. You can fly off and still come back because you're anchored.
Yeah.
And the best way to anchor yourself is in a routine.
Absolutely.
We are creatures of habit. Our the circadian rhythm system needs habit.
Yeah.
And the more habit you give it, the better it functions.
Yeah.
Now, if your body is functioning, then your mind can really work beautifully. But if your body is not functioning, the mind gets trapped.
So, would you have time for exercising even then when you were working like a maniac?
So at that time, my exercise was managing the house.
Right.
Okay, so I would literally come back from office and get into cooking, cleaning, organizing things.
Yeah.
So you're constantly on your feet at work, at home.
Yeah.
So you didn't really need exercise, but I've always loved walking. So I would, go off on a walk. The opportunity of being on your own actually is an incredibly valuable opportunity. It gives you time for introspection. It gives you time to unpick your thoughts and your actions and, sort of put things in context. And it makes you think. Like there's so many times when I do something during the day and then the next day in the morning I'm saying, Why did I do that? What was behind it?
On that, because you were talking of doing so many things, I was also reading you've done One Shakti, way beyond media. You spoke about 5 startups. You're a grandma. When I look at your life, it looks like there's absolutely no trade-offs. It's like you've done it all.
Yeah. No compromises. Okay, I'm very, very clear about that. I have been blessed, not because, God gave me any special things. I have average looks, average intelligence, lower than average money. When I started, I couldn't afford to go to business school because my father died when I was 17. So lower than average money for somebody from my background. I mean, average. If you look at it, I'm average. I define average. But what I've done with the average is extraordinary. And that's the thing. We all have the ability to just unlock the extraordinary from the average that is in us.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is by realizing that this life is a gift. I always say there's a reason why it's called the present. This moment now is the present.
Yeah.
And we have to make the most of it.
Yeah.
And when you make the most of now, when you're able to juice now and you're able to say, you know what, I'm living this moment like there's no tomorrow, then time truly becomes elastic.
Yeah.
Then you're able to do so much more with what you have.
It's crazy though, because if you think about people today, you look at them, the way they're living their lives, they're basically going to work, coming back, and so stressed out. There's so much digital distraction that if I speak to most of the people of my generation, they would essentially say, if I had the money, I would quit work and not do anything.
Correct.
What's your view on that?
Okay, so one of the biggest problems is, if I had the money, I would quit, right? That is the most abused statement ever. Because people don't understand how much money do they need to be able to quit, number one. Number two is, if you're enjoying what you're doing, why would you want to quit? So rather than saying, if I had the money, I would quit, go and find something to do that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And you will never think of quitting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then that's my life motto. Whatever I'm doing, I enjoy it. If I don't enjoy it, I stop doing it.
Yeah.
And this has been true from day one. In fact, in my jobs, I would always be very clear that if something happened, I'd walk away from that job. I was walking around with my resignation letter, okay, for years. In the 3 jobs that I've had, Lenta, Z, and then Kera, when I set up Kera, right? I was walking around with my resignation letter, because for me it was, the day something happens that I don't like or I don't enjoy, I'm quitting. Because I always had the confidence in knowing that yes, if I lose this job, I'll get another job. Maybe I won't get one equally paying or remunerative or whatever, but I'll get a job. I'd be able to put food on my table. So this whole thing of, if I had the money, I would quit, is A, bullshit. B, nobody really means it. Okay. C, is completely misguided. Do something that you enjoy, then you never want to quit it. So let's say you are earning a salary of 5 lakhs, right? And 5 lakhs becomes 20 lakhs. Does that mean 15 lakhs is what's going towards your saving? Because on 5 you were able to live a decent life.
Yeah.
Right? No.
Yeah.
Whatever your increment, your expenses
Go up proportionately.
inflate, and your dependency on that money increases. Because why? You're looking at consumerism.
Yeah.
Why do you need to buy A, B, C, D? Why do you need to change your car every year? Why do you need to do this? Why do you need to do that?
Yeah.
So if you start really looking at your life and breaking it down into the basics, every single human being on the planet, with some exceptions, can walk away from a job. Who are these exceptions? The Ambanis, the Adanis, the Elon Musks of the world, the Narayan Murthis. They can't walk away. But we can. Each and every one of us can. Because our stakes are not like their stakes.
You also speak of confidence. You speak of saying that I know if I quit this job, I'm going to figure something else. When you were speaking about stretching yourself in the growth mindset, you were also talking about start small, see that you're succeeding at a small thing, maybe making Maggie beyond boiling an egg. So that's definitely one way of developing confidence, because you see yourself doing things. But what else do you think has gone into you being the confident person that you are, saying that if this doesn't work according to what I need for myself, then I will walk away? Because I think a lot of us lack that.
Yeah, you know what is the fundamental difference? Fear of what people will say. That, unfortunately, is a big constraint today.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody is worried about what will people say.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, those people who will say things are not going to come and put food on your table. Yeah. They are not going to come and wipe away a tear or be there for you. Right? Yeah. So those people can take a you know what and shove it up there you know what. That's the fundamental problem. A lot of people are worried about what will people say. My thing is, I don't give a rat's ass about what people will say. They're not feeding me. They're not supporting me. They are not encouraging me in any way. So stop worrying about everybody else. Start worrying about yourself. Again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Put yourself at the center of your world. You are your sun in the solar system. You're not the earth, you're not Venus, you're not Saturn. You are your sun. Yeah. It's your light.
And also potentially permission to listen to ourselves, because like you're saying, I don't know how many people spend time introspecting. They're just Correct. Spending time being busy.
Correct.
So they A, don't have the time, B, I'm assuming don't have the stillness to distill what they think versus what society is thinking. Because I think all of us are caught up in that. Like you're saying, if I do this, I will be perceived as X. Versus this is something that really speaks to me.
The way I deal with it, okay, I'm willing to call myself a loser. I'm willing to call myself an idiot. If I call myself an idiot, you're calling me an idiot, doesn't really make a difference. I'm acknowledging that I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm acknowledging that I'm a loser.
Yeah.
So many of my friends after so many years of work have got huge savings and shitloads of money and all of that. I don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like poor compared to them. I'm okay with being poor.
Yeah.
Even today, I have friends who give me saris, right? I love saris. And I just adore new saris, but I don't want to buy them. So I have friends whose mothers have passed away now, have become a repository of, saris of many dead women, and I wear them with pride and with pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm respecting, honoring their memories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? But some people said, oh, you wear old saris? And yes, I do wear old saris, and I'm proud. And if any of you who's going to watch this have old saris you want to get rid of, send them to me. I'd wear them with pride. This attitude I saw in my daughter, okay, because she has 2 kids, and she had friends who had babies, and then they were handing things over, and she was like, my mom and me have always lived by this principle. When there were marriages to go to, I didn't stitch outfits for every marriage. I'd borrow them from my friends and proudly wear them.
Yeah.
And say, this is borrowed. Yes, I borrowed it from so and so. Then, you can't say, oh, look, she's borrowed an outfit. She's proudly walking around saying, it's a borrowed outfit. I don't own this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, my daughter also is that attitude, which is so important today.
Yeah.
Because it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What you have or don't have. What matters is who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
We get caught up in these things, okay, about what we own, things don't make us who we are.
Yeah.
And if things make you who you are, imagine how poverty stricken you are.
Yeah.
How morally corrupt you are.
Yeah.
And you don't have an identity beyond your things.
Yeah.
What a tragedy.
So you've said so much, Meenakshi, and if I could go on forever, I potentially would. You've said what poverty could look like. If you were to think of maybe the top 2-3 things according to you that are components of a life well lived.
I think basically helping others, okay, the underprivileged, the underserved, being able to think of somebody else's problems. That's really, in my view, a mark of a good life. But doing it without drama, okay, not standing on the rooftops and announcing, oh, I've done this, I've done that. You know, today you see a lot of these so-called philanthropists, right, who are, becoming public figures because of the millions of dollars or the crores of rupees they gain. I mean, that's such bullshit, right? You don't need to announce it. Do what you can do. So, help others is one mantra. The other mantra is love deeply, okay? Love and lose. The fact of the matter is, see, life, love and loss are two sides of the same coin. And if you don't love, you don't lose. So would you rather live without love, or would you rather live without the experience of loss? I think I would rather love and experience loss rather than saying, no, I stay away from love because there's loss attached to it. So love, be emotional, care for people, give of yourself. And the third thing is have fun. It's so important for us to enjoy every moment, sing, dance, do whatever it is that gives you joy. Because the joy also comes from inside. A lot of people make the mistake of saying, oh, if this happens to me, I'll be happy. Or if he does that, I'll be happy, right? With your partners or your husbands, wives, children. Oh, if my child gets first class, I'll be happy. I mean, that is so crappy. You need to find happiness within you. And it gets more and more difficult when you allow the exterior to cloud that. Okay. Even depression. I know what depression is. I went through depression when my marriage of 25 years broke up. I had to look at therapy. But then the minute I realized that I was equally to blame, I needed to just see that I had a role to play in all the shit that was going on around me. Own it. The minute you own it, you start your path of recovery.
One last question from me. How do you find the energy to go on with everything that you're doing? Because like I said, a lot of folks I think in our generation will say, oh, I would love to drop everything and just chill. My sense is that's not what human beings are meant to do.
Correct. I don't think human beings are meant to chill because, again, nature wants us to grow and evolve, right? Chilling does not mean, lying on a beach somewhere and being sort of dead. We are not meant to just be. We are meant to grow. That's the natural part. And if you try and buck the natural system, then obviously that creates a lot of stressors for you. So the whole idea of just wanting to not do anything itself is a contradiction. Because then what you want is you want your death. So why would you want to invite your death? You know you're going to die. That's the only thing you're sure of when you're born, right? That a day will come and you'll die. But why would you invite it? And the only existence is growth. And I don't mean growth physically. I don't mean growth in terms of the things you have. Growth could also be improving your understanding. Right? Understanding your role in things. Because let's not forget, ultimately each human being is part of a larger pattern. We may not understand that pattern. We're part of a family unit, we are part of a corporate unit, we are part of a state unit, we are a political unit, we are part of a social unit. We are always part of units. And being able to understand your role in that unit and your responsibilities in that unit is what life is all about.
So even when you're working with seniors, do you find that, I look at my folks, for example, if you're not able to find meaningful engagement, I feel like that's the time when you start, I guess, waiting for death.
Correct. Absolutely. Purpose. That's what life is all about. Purpose. What is your purpose? There are some of us who have clarity in terms of our purpose. There are some of us who don't. But then life becomes a journey towards trying to find that purpose. right? And then when you're old and you feel you don't have purpose in your life, that's when you start saying, oh, I wish I could die.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, death is not in our hands. Unless you choose to take it into your hands and you choose to kill yourself. But death is not in your hands. So as long as you have life, you have to make the most of it.
This has been absolutely wonderful, Meenakshi. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks so much for tuning in. I look forward to your comments and feedback. Before you go, can I ask for a favor? If you like the show, would you consider subscribing? It's an easy way to support us. And we promise to keep doing what we're doing and try and do even better. Thank you.